I think like at 13, I called Child Protective Service and said, hey, my father's abusing me. And I called for help. I reached out and no one came to save me. So I think there was a realization that the only person that could save me was myself. The day I turned 18, I walked out of my parents' house and hitchhiked 1,800 miles across the country because I was like, I am so out of here.
Welcome, Annie Marie Kramer, to Deeply Aligned podcast.
Oh, deeply aligned. Nice.
Nice, right? Nice cling to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to have you here. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I'd like to kickstart with, I saw one of your stories this morning, another one. And it said something along the way of that sometimes you have to pinch yourself to the fact that you're blessed to be able to help people and go deeper with them on a deeper level. Not on the surface, but on a deeper level into the depth of humanity. And I think that described really well of kind of your why in a beautiful way. And I think it's going to give the essence of like who you are and what you're about. So could you tell me a little bit more about that?
About the pinching myself as far as like the depths of humanity, or
Well, what that post or that story was about, and like, I mean, you're helping people in a certain way, releasing traumas, depression, anxiety, that kind of stuff. And
Yeah,
think it's
I love humans. I have this, I guess, maybe to a fault, where I'm interested in every human. I mean, it could be a janitor in, you know, Spain cleaning the floor, and I want to know their story. Like, I want to know them because I think humanity is fascinating. There's 8 billion people on this planet, and we're all having a different experience. And I just think that that is so amazing. And I really want to know people at a deep level because I know what it's like to be known at a deep level. When I have friends that can go deep with me, such as yourself, you know, we've had some great conversations. To be seen, to be felt, to be understood, not just in the glossy photos and in all the perfection when we're all dolled up, but in the rawness and the realness. To me, that's what we're here for. And I don't know, I think humans are fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, you have that genuine curiosity for other human beings.
Yeah.
And that's one reason I connected to you, for sure. With that said, was this always the case for you? If we go back in time?
I think so. I think I've always had a curiosity of people. You know, I grew up, you know, in a tough environment. And that I've been very public about. My father was an alcoholic and he was sexually, physically, and very emotionally abusive. And I knew at a really young age, I don't know, like I had a calling. I had a very young age that the world could be different. Like, I remember telling him at 13, I'm like, Dad, I think we need to go to therapy.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and his response was, the only therapy you're going to get is my hand across your face. You know, like he was very receptive to the idea.
Very receptive.
Yeah. And so I don't know why I had this calling, but I do. And, you know, I think it's the soul's journey, and we don't really get to choose that. We come down onto this planet with a mission, and whether we accept that mission or not. But I think my mission has been to heal myself, to get to a place where I can be a good human. And then help others feel that way. Because for most of my life, I've always felt, and it's definitely a core wound of like, I've always felt like bad, you know, worthless.
Yeah, at 13 years old. We talked about this before, but like your mess becomes your message in a sense, and kind of that's where it started, right? As it sounds like. So if you bring us back a bit, and if we say like, if you could quickly, but in 1 to 2 minutes, recap a little bit for context on your background story, how you become who you are today, and sort of like, let's say what you define as significant moments throughout your life that has shaped you to who you are. How would that sound like?
Yeah, again, I think like at 13, when I just knew that there could be a better way, I called Child Protective Service and said, hey, my father's abusing me. And at those ages, they just didn't care. No one came to save me. You know, I called for help. I reached out, and no one came to save me. So I think there was a realization that the only person that could save me was myself. And so I went to work, and it took me a while. The day I turned 18, I talk about this, I walked out of my parents' house and hitchhiked 1,800 miles across the country because I was like, I am so out of here. That didn't work out so well, but it did give me some confidence that I could pretty much do anything. If I can get, truckers to drive me 1,800 miles and live to tell about it, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then at about, I think, age 24, I remember hearing Brian Tracy, who did The Psychology of Achievement, and at that time Anthony Robbins, and I would listen I had an Audi, like a really old Audi that I was driving to the horse farm because used to ride horses, and I would listen to these things on repeat, like hours and hours of Psychology of Achievement, hours and hours of Anthony Robbins, because like my brain needs to be different if I'm going to be different, and that really kick-started me into a new way of being. And I studied psychology in college. I didn't end up getting a degree in psychology because I moved over to exercise physiology. But I just kept studying the human experience in every way that I could. And finding different ways to be a better person, because I wasn't a good person at that time. I mean, I was physically abusive. Like in my relationships in my 20s, I would be fist fighting with my boyfriends. Like I can say that now without shame because I understood that that's all I knew.
Yeah.
At the time I had so much shame around it, and drunk, just I look back at that and I'm like, ugh. But I knew that was something to grow into. And I remember finding yoga, and my partner at the time, we were doing that. He was a physician. He was a doctor. So he was very intelligent, but grew up with the same kind of environment.
Right.
And I remember us like looking at each other. We had started doing yoga and meditation, and we're like, let's break this chain. And that we never did it again. Like, not that we didn't have intense fights and we didn't get super angry, but we never got physical again. And that was the break. And I was like, I'm breaking this chain. And then just layer by layer breaking different chains. Yoga was one that really brought me home to myself. And then and then
Kind
of
of like
course
raising the level of consciousness and conscious decisions.
yeah.
And it sounds to me also, which seems to be a pattern in myself, in other people who are exploring and are eventually becoming successful also. Seems like many times it starts with pain in certain forms, and then you need to release that pain. Sometimes you release it in projecting that pain onto others, fighting and whatever. But eventually you might do a more mature decision of, hey, I'm going to go put this pain and energy into self-growth and self-development and become a better person. And that seems to have been the case with you as
Working on it. I'm still very mean to my children at times in that one.
well. Are you? No.
Yeah, that one's that's a hard one. Like I really feel like I'm not my father, where I'm not beating my children, but I can feel like his meanness come out, and that's something I have that I'm still working on. Like it just, I can be nice to like adults, but my kids, I'm like, the trigger, like the deep core is like it's still there. I'm working on it, but I do believe that I'm conscious enough to apologize them and also tell them that it's never about them, that it's mommy's problem. Like mommy's working on it, but it's not them.
That's good communication right there. I mean, ironically, sometimes the kids can be the best parent as well and teach the parents lessons, of course. All right, so one of the next steps in your phase, like what made you, was there any pivotal moment, so to speak, that made you go into yoga? I mean, of course, the whole background that you just described right now, but anything that like clicked of like yoga is the thing. I feel certain benefits from there and calling and
100%. I remember it like yesterday. I was looking for a spiritual practice because I've always been a hustler. Like I can make money.
Yeah.
Like making money is like I can make money. I grew up poor and I was like, my life will never be like this, so I can hustle. I will turn $1. I'll figure out a way.
Yeah.
And I remember going like, there's something missing. There's something missing. And I didn't know what it was. And I was like, I think it might be religion. And I was going to school to be a Catholic so I could be a godmother to my niece. And I was like, yeah, that's not it. I was studying Scientology. I was looking because again, like my soul's journey was like, there's something bigger. And this whole time I'm practicing yoga. And I'm practicing a very physical power yoga. And I'll never forget, it was a Saturday morning. I'm laying in Shavasana. And I was like, this is it. I've been practicing the whole time, and it was just like a wake up. I'm like, this is what I'm looking for. Because in that moment, I connected to myself and I connected to this source energy. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I was like, oh, I'm home.
Right. Right. Love that. It's interesting. Like we're all different there in certain ways. Like I'm very logical, right? You know that.
No,
So
I didn't know.
for you, was that more of a feeling and intuition? Like yes, this is it, more than that you would explain it. Like why exactly that would be. You just felt that this feels right, and yes,
My family
I'm
thought
drawn
I
to it.
was crazy. I was married to a doctor. I was in pharmaceutical sales making hella money, working 4 hours a day with a pension, 401k, all the things that you get in corporate
Everything is
America.
set. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm moving to California to open a yoga studio. They're like, what? You know?
Like why?
But I didn't have a choice. It was
Yeah.
like a choiceless choice. I think when you have this calling and when you're connected, there's something that pulls you to do something
Yeah.
deeper.
Yeah. Oh, great. And then yeah, you're moving to California. You're opening up your yoga studio. Several yoga
3.
studios eventually. 3. What was the gap in between those? We started with 1.
Then a year later, another, and then a year later, another.
Only a year in between each.
Yeah, it was a really bad decision.
Went fast, huh?
It went fast, and I was so lucky because the first month I opened my business, I broke even, and my husband was a doctor at the time, and I said, if we see 60 people a day, you can quit being a doctor. Within 2 months, we saw 60 people. He quit being a physician, and we made more money in yoga than he ever made being a doctor.
No.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was just really lucky. But opening the other 2 studios was not a great idea because it burned me out. It became what I was doing for love became like exhausting. And then I had 2 kids, and then I remember waking up. My daughter was maybe a month old. I have a 3-year-old. I have 3 yoga studios, and I'm the wheelhouse. And I just remember going like, this isn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
I just remember like that. And I want life to be fun because I'm only doing it if it's fun.
Right.
And I sold 2 of the studios and kept my main studio, and then my life got a little bit more chill.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So at that point in time, what was the reflection of, okay, we're making a lot of money with the yoga studios, but now kids and everything, a lot to juggle at the same time, more stress than you wanted. Were you also going, besides the money and financial freedom, like, oh, I want some vacation and time freedom and maybe also more, like less stress-free life?
I'm not really exactly sure how that all happened because I did have that. My business ran itself. I had people running the business. I could leave for months at a time,
Yeah.
and it was still, I don't want to say it was passive income because it certainly wasn't. Because when I was working, I was working.
Right.
And when you're an entrepreneur, your mind never shuts off. And for me, the only way I could get a break was actually to leave the city that I lived in and like,
Yep.
so I did have all those things. I had time. I had space. I was just obsessed. I call it Zuda was my studio. It was the love of my life. Like I was obsessed with it. I created. Many people called it a cult, and it was a culture of really crazy things. It was very big energy,
Yeah.
and yeah, I had all those things. But what totally messed me up was I started coming to Bali.
Okay. All right. There we go. Bali does that to you.
I started going to Bali and Burning Man, actually. And those 2 things kind of threw me off course.
That combo is lethal.
It was the lethal combo because I was like, wait, what? You can live like this? I didn't get it. I lived in a very political town. I lived in the capital of California. So everyone was very political and very straight-laced. And I've never really been straight-laced. I've always been the wild child.
Yeah.
And then when I found Burning Man, I was like, oh, you can do this and like people don't accept you for this? I was like, yes. And then Bali just had this like...
How would you describe it, kind of? Is that like more freedom to be yourself more?
Yeah,
Is that it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I do. I think that's part of my thing with others is I can hold space for people to be who themselves. Like, I had a girl on the table last week, and funny, I had known her for a long time. She actually done my yoga teacher training in Sacramento, came to Bali to see me because she was in a deep state of like not knowing what to do. So she's like, I need to see you.
Yeah.
And she's on the table and she's like going through it and she's like, you don't want to see this part of me. You can't handle it, And I was like, no, it's you that can't handle it. I can handle anything. And then she just was like, she just let go in a way that was so profound and just released so much shame and stuff that she was hiding inside of her. That was just like,
Yeah.
I'm like, and that's what I'm here for.
It's like, I mean, it's a challenge, big challenge to release all of that shame for oneself. Another thing to do it for, like, in another human being's presence as well. It might be even more challenging for some people. But okay, so in hindsight, when we talk about the yoga studio lives and the cult over there in California, um, in hindsight, would you think that there was some attachment with your identity connected to the yoga studio and the community that you created over there?
Yeah, well, I think you're familiar with what happened. Not only did I lose everything during COVID, but I lost my reputation, everything, because I was on the wrong side of history as far as politics were concerned, as far as like the people in California who are very political and tend to move to one side.
Yeah.
And I honestly have never really been a side chooser, and that was what that was the interesting thing is like I always like wanted to hold a space for like no matter what side you're on, that yoga to me is a neutral ground.
Yeah.
No matter what I believe, come here and experience yourself and find your own truth. I don't really care if you're this or that. Come here and be connected to everyone, because I don't really think there are sides. I think I believe in unity versus diversity. And that's not a message that America really wants to hear. They're not ready for that. And so, when they came after me, like in a hard way. And it's funny because I've been a pretty strong person my whole life, and I have pretty thick skin. I mean, people have talked about me my whole life because I was doing something cultish and and it never bothered me, but something happened during that time where I think I just, after like losing all my finances and stuff, I just was so low. I didn't have the strength to be myself. And so I went down and I lost everything. I mean, even now I'm going back to California. I'm not even invited to my city to teach yoga. Like I can't even go back there and teach yoga.
Yeah. No, I feel you. That's a tough situation or tough experience, so to speak. It's like, I mean, even now, today with my friends also, if you have a really good friends and then you're disagreeing on something, that's totally okay, right? The thing is that everyone needs to remember that, okay, we're all having different realities and backgrounds and life experiences, so it's okay to disagree as long as we
It's
hear and
encouraged to
understand and
disagree.
see the other person still and
Yeah.
go like, okay, considering your perspective and your experiences, I can understand that you feel this way or that you see it this way. That's another thing.
I love to disagree with people because that's where you learn.
That is where you learn. Growth mindset.
Yeah, growth mindset.
Growth mindset. What are a few characteristics that you have found significantly valuable throughout your life, would you say?
Resilience.
Resilience. Yeah, that shines through for sure.
I mean, life is long, and we come to this world for lessons and for our soul to grow and to heal these things that have been given to us so the next generation can have a different way of being. And that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. The lesson, like I remember my girlfriend, she has yoga studios in Cleveland, and she had a coach, and her hair was falling out. Like you owned yoga studios too, and she was like, my hair is falling out. And my coach said to her coach said to her, "You're a yogi. What do you think? Your lessons are going to be easy?" And so I think that resilience of like, when you're given hard lessons, it's for a reason, so that you can step up, and then you can be a leader and lead by example.
Totally.
And that's not easy when the spotlight's on you.
Definitely not. And it feels like everyone's against you, and even the ones that you thought were like closest to you. And that's resilience. What are a few characteristics as a parent and a mother you would consider important and very valuable?
Love. That's it. I think if my kids know that I love them and that I accept them, and I accept them for who they are right now, and I don't expect them to be a certain way for me to love them. Like, it's not just because I'm praising them because they did this. But like, I love you no matter what you do. I think that's the gift we can give, not just our kids, but everybody.
That's the lessons we had from our parents as well, right? A few things that we would like them to have done better, but that's the lesson for us, how we can do it better next time,
And
for the next
patience.
generation. Yeah. Yeah.
Patience and fun.
Mhm.
Because kids play
Yeah.
and we get serious.
We do get too serious.
I mean, I do. And then I start, and then they're all like, why are you so serious? And then I start getting down on the floor with them, or I go to the beach and my daughter wants to roll in the sand and look for sea urchins and like throw sand at me and get dirty. And I get annoyed. And I'm like, why am I annoyed? She wants to play.
Yeah.
So then I get down to her level and then I connect it. And then I'm like, oh, she's the one who has it figured out, not me.
Yeah.
You know, they say, like, what are you going to teach your children? But I think you learn far more from your children than they'll ever teach you.
Yeah, I would agree. If you're open to it and
Yeah.
you see it, that's the key point.
And that's where, you know, you have to really manage your stress levels in what you do because so you can be available. Because when we're just thinking about, and as a female, you know, like I never really got that opportunity to be just a mother. I went straight back to work, you know. I lock my babies in and teach yoga teacher trainings, nursing while I'm teaching 50 people how to teach yoga,
Yeah.
leading retreats with a 6-week-old in Mexico, and you know, just doing all those things that, because I was not only the mother but I was the provider financially, and so
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, we just have a limited amount of energy, and of course, as a mother or as a father, for that matter too, besides like providing, no matter who's providing, you also want to have some energy and love and compassion for your children.
yeah, if you don't have any reserves left, it's hard.
No. I want to go into the topic of spirituality, spiritual awakenings, psychedelics, and of that sort.
Ooh, fun stuff.
The fun stuff. I know you see, likewise as me, kind of like mushrooms and other psychedelics more as herbal plant medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about that, on your viewpoint on that.
I think the human disease is separation. And anytime you experience medicine, ayahuasca, psilocybin, LSD,
This connection at the deepest level. Yeah.
you
We're
go,
all the
oh, I
same."
forgot. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I forgot. Yes, we're all freaking connected.
Yeah.
It's just love and connection. And
Yeah.
then we go back to our regular life and we're like, we
Yeah.
forget, you
Yeah,
know?
it's crazy actually.
That's it. It's just like, and that's why breath work is the same thing. Everything goes away, and you're like, oh, we're just connected.
Yeah.
And that's the medicine, and that's why they made them illegal too, because they don't want people connected, because
Agreed.
when we have unity, you can't control us. You
Yeah.
know, when we have unity, we're not going to go to war with each other. So yeah, I mean,
Fully agree. Fully agree.
it's a cosmic joke.
Yeah. When was the first time you had any of these experiences?
I started messing around with psychedelics right in college, I think, but
Quite early.
Yeah, quite early. And then I didn't do it for a long time because I also like bought the Kool-Aid too, that
Oh, yeah. It's
psychedelics
hard.
gonna
It's
make
hard
you-
not to.
make you crazy, gonna make you jump out of windows, you know, and that kind of stuff. And then I went to Burning Man. And someone offered me mushrooms, and then I went out on the playa with mushrooms. I was like, whoa. And then I just started diving back into it.
Yeah. Never going back.
Oh yeah.
So in college, would you say college maybe didn't have that effect because it was the wrong environment also?
I was really lucky because my boyfriend at the time, was a dreamer, and he was some just 6'6" guy that just, you know, had the biggest heart ever. And so we would do him, be like, look at the sky. And, you know, maybe I don't think I understood at that time what I was doing, but I remember it being really beautiful and lovely. I didn't do a lot of it, just a very, very small amount. And so, I mean, I think at that time I was just so shattered that alcohol was like my thing, just to numb the pain. I wasn't ready for the major breakthrough yet.
Yeah. I mean, probably still a breakthrough in the sense of like, who knows? It's hard to say, right? Whether that helped you open up to get closer to your intuition and feeling that yoga was the thing, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So it's always a start and a stepping stone along the way, in some sense.
I think we need to put psychedelics in the water back in America come election time this November. It's going to be quite wild.
It's gonna be wild, for sure. All right. So, is there any time specific specific time when you did psychedelics that you were like, that's more memorable than another?
Yeah. I remember I was leading a yoga teacher training. I had 50 people in my training, and my best friend at the time was leading with me, and I was really sick, like mentally sick. Like my head wasn't right. I just couldn't get it together. I just felt off, bad, terrible, depressed. I don't know. I don't even know what it was. And I was like, I need to go sit with medicine. And so I left teacher training, left a whole night. And I was like, you need to run the show. I need to go. And so I went and sat with grandmother with ayahuasca. And I was literally like a psycho, like, those people that wear straitjackets in the hospital and they're like this? I was like this. I was like,
After or before ayahuasca?
No, during ayahuasca, during the experience, and I was like, I was just like making this like low growl, and I just was like, I just felt so sick in my body,
Yeah.
And then I had never really purged. I mean, I always purged south, but I'd never really thrown up. And so I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. So you take your puke bucket with you because you never go anywhere without your puke bucket when you're doing this medicine because you just never know.
Yeah.
But I always took it, even though I never purged. So I sat down on the toilet, and I'm going to the toilet, and then all of a sudden, I start throwing up. Not, mind you, I've fasted, so I have no food in my body. And I'm like, from the depths of my soul. Like, it's like such a deep purge. It's not, it's like, when you're
physical anymore.
it's
energy or
yeah, it's energy. It's when you're really sick and those last hurls, they have nothing left in you. It's like that for like 15 minutes.
Wow.
And I'm puking, and grandmother is saying, it's too much information. It's too much information. It's not integrated. It's not integrated. And I was throwing up images and posts and quotes from Instagram. And and I went off social media for an entire year after that because I wasn't healthy with that relationship because I was just taking in too much information without integrating.
Gotcha. Yeah. Bad or good information you're saying? Like not just like the wrong information, but good information as well, and you couldn't integrate. Was that her message in a sense?
Yeah, exactly. We see 100 times more images in one day than we did in an entire lifetime 100 years ago.
Yeah.
The human brain's not ready for that. Most of us lack the ability to integrate. I mean, you go to yoga class and Shavasana is like 4 minutes. We don't spend enough time integrating, and that's the medicine. Yeah. It's the wisdom that's the medicine. Because like you see a quote on Instagram and then you're like, next. I mean, like, what does it even mean if it's not part of you? It's just information.
Yeah, it's like no way you can enter like you're super conscious or because your nervous system is never regulated and it's always like slightly in fight or flight. You're not relaxing and you can't like get it to penetrate, I guess, into integration. Yeah. Interesting.
That was a memorable one. But they're all pretty memorable and different. Oh, one time, I was doing mushrooms here on the Gillies. Yeah. And you know how when it doesn't work and you're like, it's not working. So you just keep taking more. Yeah. And then you're like, it's working.
Oops, and it's probably more coming because
and I ended up doing like a massive hero's dose, and I was with a Swedish lover on the beach.
A Swedish one also.
Yes.
Yeah, you said this before.
Memorable Swedish lover, as you know. And I literally was laying on the beach. I couldn't get up. I was like I was in such a hero's dose, I literally couldn't move. And I just remember like gods coming out of the water and be like, and then gods coming down from the sky and they're just dancing together and just showing me like it's all beautiful. And I can still see those visions today of it just being like, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just like reminds me that we're all God. It's all connected.
Describe to the people listening like a hero's dose what that is a little quickly.
Well, you have the microdose, which is really nice for focus and concentration, a little bit of creativity, which is like less than 1 gram, like 0.5 to 1 gram. And then a regular journey would be around 2 to 2.5 grams. And then a hero's dose is usually about 4 to 6 grams.
Yeah. I'm planning on doing one on Monday.
Oh, alone?
5 grams, I'm thinking.
Alone?
With Melanie also.
Okay, awesome.
She wants to do like 2 or something. I was like, 2? I mean, you do you, but yeah.
Yeah,
I want to do more.
she's always the moderate one in the relationship.
Yeah. Which is a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, you want someone doing less if you're doing that much. Because
Yeah.
we know when I took my partner on that hero's journey,
Yeah.
he did 6 grams and I had done 2, but it was a very strong 2. And I was like, whoa, I had to really pull it together to be able to hold space for him even in that 2.
Yeah.
So you just never know. And if someone's holding space for you, you want them to be on less so that they can be there for you when you're...
We were saying she starts, I hold space for her. Then once she's getting down, I start. So we go into holding space for each other. Anything I need to think about when I'm going to do a hero's dose for the first time? Because I've never done more than, I think, 3.5 before.
3.5 is pretty strong. But it also depends on the medicine. It really does. Because I tried to do a hero's dose last weekend and it ended up being pretty light, even though I did 4 grams, which is 4 grams for my body size is a lot. I always go into the day. I'm so lucky with psilocybin because she's always really good to me. I've never had negative experience on it.
Yeah, me neither so far, even though you're way more experienced.
Yeah, it's just always been so lovely. And so I always go into it with prayer and with show me what I need to see so I can help others. And I really feel like when I do these medicine journeys, they're not just for me, they're for others so that I can show the way. And so I give myself up to the medicine. I give myself to the medicine and I pray and I bless the medicine and I ask the medicine to be kind to me, to have a nice journey so that I can help others. And that whenever I feel it coming on, I'm like, thank you. I'm just in gratitude. So I really go into the medicine journeys with a lot of sacredness. And I find maybe that helps. I don't know.
Yeah, I like to take that with me. I think I'm always seeking, give me the lesson, no matter if it's hard or nice or pleasurable. And I think my theory is that I might be wrong, but I'm thinking people who are fearful for something, that they don't want to have a negative experience, it might be a higher probability that they're not going to like it so much. But if you go into it with hey, I'm grateful for whatever I'm getting and I'm looking for the lesson, even though if it's traumatic or ego death or whatever hard thing it might be, I think it might be nicer.
Well, even in breathwork, I always say, if there's something scary coming, if you can just go, what are you here to teach me? If you can just bring that to consciousness whenever it's happening, even though you're kind of in and out, it takes the fear away because you're here to teach me something. What is it? What are you here to teach me? And just ask that question in the dark moments, and I think it brings light to it.
Yeah, trusting, accepting whatever is coming, being grateful. Yeah. So you're going to Burning Man soon again, right? How many times has it been now?
I've been to 3 official and then 2 renegade burns. When you just go out into the desert. When COVID happened, they didn't have a burn, so 10,000 of us went out to the desert and just created our own burn. But I haven't been in 4 years.
And this is another official one, right?
Yeah, this is an official one.
So that would be the 4th official?
Yeah.
Cool. What are you expecting in terms of experiences or lessons, or what are you expecting in general? What are you hoping to experience?
I go in with no expectation. I just really try to do that. And the desert is like doing plant medicine for 11 days because it's hard. It's not easy to be at Burning Man. I mean, it's one of the most funnest thing you can ever do in your life, but it's exhausting and hard. It's hot, then it's cold, it's dirty, it's hard to get around. You get caught in a dust storm, you're stuck somewhere for an entire 24 hours, 36 hours. Sometimes you just can't leave. You're just you literally can't see a foot in front of you. So you just have to go with the flow. And so it really, it's all about coming together and helping each other out. I don't really have any expectations. I know the desert always provides. We always say, in the dust we trust.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Nice saying, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. We call it home. Burning Man, I always say Burning Man is the real world and this is the default world. And so it's like going home to your people where everyone is hugging and welcome, and there's no money. There's like not a single dollar exchange. Like you can't buy anything on there. So you have to be told, you live by the 10 principles, and I don't know. I don't have any expectations of just except just showing up and giving.
Yeah. It seems to me like it's an environment that, yeah, I guess kind of forces you to connect, to trust, first of all, like give in to whatever is happening and trust that it's going to work out, and then also connect with others, not being afraid to ask for help. Lead with love and lead with compassion and understanding.
And the
helping
art is insane.
Yeah.
Like you can't even explain the art because you'll be in the middle of the desert. It'll be like 4 a.m. and you'll be like, what? How is that happening? Like all the time. It's like entering different vortexes. It's just incredible. Like it's like the wow factor is just constant. It's
Yeah.
like people are just giving their gift of whatever it is, just for your pleasure. It's like a dopamine paradise because it's all about pleasure, like giving something for someone else to experience pleasure.
Yeah. It's kind of like whatever reality you had when you went in, that's now shattered and a new reality has been created.
Exactly.
You just don't know what kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to add on that? Where like the previous Burning Mans you've been to before, that you had like the first one, the second one was this kind of lesson, or
I always go into it with the 10 principles in mind and like which principle I would like to focus on, and I never really know what that is until I get there because it usually kind of shows itself. I'm like, oh, it shows you where your mind is. I remember the last one, like they always say you have to make a plan in order to break it, because you always make plans. I'll meet you at da 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 da, and you never actually meet because you just like it just keeps going. And one of the principles is immediacy, which kind of means like be present. So like immediately wherever you're at, like be present where you're at. And so that was I remember the last burn, like just being where I was at versus like focusing on finding somebody or going somewhere else, just being where you're at.
it's really going with the flow, yeah?
Going into flow.
Yeah.
And this year I've been really thinking hard about, and maybe you could help me with this. So one of the principles is gifting.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it has to be, a thing. I've been really thinking, like, what do I want to give this year at Burning Man? And I don't know it hasn't landed for me yet. Like, I'm teaching breathwork there, and I'm teaching them things like that. And
Right.
but I'm like, what could I give on the playa that would be really of service and that people could receive?
Yeah. Going a little bit on a side tangent, which is relatable still though, but I've been going deep into cryptocurrency lately, and then like what is money, and then money is just energy. So when it comes to like Burning Man or giving gifts or whatever, it's all about what kind of energy are you going to give, in what shape or form. And energy can be, an act of service, breathwork, hugs, listening, understanding someone. Many, many different ways, right? X, Y, and Z. So.
But knowing me, as you know me, what do you think I should be my offering? Last year I did rape ceremonies, and I would sage people. I would clear their energy.
My suggestion would be, if I can share, I would kind of go with like, start with having conversations with people and letting that guide me. I'll probably get an answer from that. Okay, I had this conversation with this person, and they're kind of telling me this, and then all of a sudden, like you're saying, the intuition clicks of like, this is it, the gift, the kind of energy I want to give. Yeah, that would be on top of my mind. Which is, I guess, what you said from the start of like, I'm going in there without expectations. I know I want to give, and I want to give a lot. What kind? Let's see. And I will be adjusting to whatever makes sense when the moment comes.
Okay.
I should say that to myself more often.
Yeah, exactly. Right? We always
Way
teach
more
what we
often.
need to learn the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Burning Man. I gotta go at some point. It's every year. Every year in the
End
the
of
fall.
August.
August.
Yeah, it's a must.
Yeah.
It's a must if you. It's just I can't. It's not a festival. People
Mm.
are like, oh, it's not a festival.
Yeah.
It's beyond. But it's very expensive. It's
Yeah.
like crazy.
Yeah.
And so much work. Oh,
Yeah.
so much work.
Yeah, crazy. Like, as people are leaving there, like, how many people are you connected with today from the previous Burning Mans? Like, is that friends for lives kind of thing of connection that's ongoing, or?
Yeah, I think you end up making friends for life. Yeah,
Yeah.
but we have this thing that we only touch the 10 people that were around, right? That's the 10 people that we're closest to are the ones that we have the greatest impact.
Yeah.
And so I think Burning Man, you meet maybe one or two a year that you stay friends with. You meet a lot of people that, like, when you're in a different country and you're like, oh, I'm here, you can, hook up and, have conversations or have a coffee. But,
Of course. Yeah.
those deep conversations, I think there's the select, we all as humans have very few people that we can really drop in with
Yeah.
at a time. We just don't have the bandwidth for it.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many talks about this, and I think it's true. Like,
Who?
we have our tribe of 150 people. There's only 150 people we can have on our radar at a given time. So, as we meet new people and get new friends, then usually there's some kind of person that's we're disconnecting more with. And yeah. No, cool. I mean, even if you find one person who you go really deep with per year, that's worth a lot. Priceless. Yeah. All right. What would you say you're focused on these days?
I mean, breathwork and somatics has really been where my focus has been, and it's been extraordinary.
Yeah.
Like, when I started on this journey, it was like tipping. I've been teaching it breathwork for a long time, but when I found the somatics part and started working with people, it's just been like, wow, next level of helping people and people getting off the table. I do a lot of privates, and people get off the table like, whoa.
Mm.
They just come back into their deeply aligned
Yeah.
person instead of, because the mind, you can't believe a thing the mind says.
It says a lot of bullshit, yeah.
Bullshit. It's a scoundrel.
Yeah.
But the body doesn't lie. And the moment you can get people to connect to their body without the anxiety, without the depression, and they get connected to their source energy, to the deep parts of their brain, and then connect, they just know. Like, I don't give anyone advice. That's the one thing that I'm very clear on with all my clients is I don't give advice.
Yeah.
I bring them back home to where they know their own answers.
Mm.
And that I really love, because everyone's full of advice. And it's just our own story that we're projecting on somebody else.
Yeah. I learned something quite recently. Whether it's marketing or life in general, it seems like everyone is looking for a guide. They're not looking for a hero. They're the hero themselves, and they're looking for a guide. So, not necessarily are they looking for like specific advice, like do what I say kind of thing, but more like, hey, I see what you do, and I'm inspired. I want that kind of lifestyle, and I value the same. So, indirectly, you're my guide kind of thing. I think that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah, and of course we do need business advice, like, business coaching. I think that's a different thing. Like, here's a strategy, here's this. But as far as like who we are, and that's what I'm about, is like getting to know who you are,
Yeah.
and that inner alignment of like, oh, this is what I need to do as far as like my life's purpose versus the steps to get there. Like, that's not my, that's you.
Yeah.
Because you got that nice little analytical brain that likes to structure things.
Conceptualizing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a new definition the other day, me and a friend. We call it meta thinking.
I like that. Yeah.
I would say, I mean, you're a thinker as well, but I would say like your superpower and also Mel's probably meta feeler.
Yeah,
You're feeling on a more meta, holistic basis.
Yeah.
Intuition is strong. Feelings and emotions are strong, and it guides you. Mine is very much in here, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm.
Do you
trying
like it
to-
that way?
I love that part of me,
Yeah, good.
and I think I go like, okay, that's my strength. At the same time, obviously, there's always two sides of the coin. where it's a strength and it can also be a weakness at the same time. But whenever I make, I guess, big life decisions, I go like, okay, how do I feel? And do I feel this on more than 1-2 days, like for a little longer period of time? What's my intuition? Oh, it's also check on that in alignment. Now, logically reasoning, how does this all make sense? So it's like check on those three, emotionally, spiritually, intuitively, and then the mind, logically. And then, yeah, I feel like it's a really good combination, the process that I'm going through that works for me. Then I love
If you
that,
trust yourself, that's all that matters. Like if you
yeah.
trust.
I love my ability to be able to explain that also to someone else. So like, this is what's going through in me and how I'm thinking. And now I can explain that to you why that is. Instead of, obviously it's nice. It's nice if someone says also, like, well, my intuition is saying that, but it doesn't tell me so much about it. Like I can't feel your intuition, right? So that's, yeah.
I have this weird thing that I think ever since I started doing breathwork and somatics, where when people speak their truth, my body goes, whew, like this energy comes through my body like a full body orgasm. Literally, it's like it's a very pleasurable thing. It's like, whew, that's true, and it's the craziest thing. It's like people talk, and I'm like, I call bullshit because I can feel whether it's bullshit or not.
Yeah.
And like when it's a divine alignment or a deep alignment, my body's like, whew, it just sends me a message like that's true.
And that makes total sense. And like, I mean, so useful when you're doing what you're doing. That you can almost feel it stronger than the other person maybe, and kind of guide in that way of like, okay, I can feel when this is bullshit and this is like you're tapping into your truth right now. When it comes to somatic breathwork, I mean, throughout your life journey, you have tried a lot of things. It was yoga, it was other things, meditation or whatever we want to kind of call it, with ice baths or whatever. Why somatic breathwork, you think? Why do you think that is working for you and working for so many others?
Well, it's somatic release and breath work, because there is somatic breath work, and that's a very different experience. So
Nice.
why I think it works is because we live in an overly stressed world. That doesn't even make any sense. We don't have tigers chasing us.
No.
We don't have other tribes trying to kill us. Well, yes, of course, there are some places on the planet that is true. But for our everyday life and for most people, no one's trying to kill us.
Yeah.
But our nervous system is acting like that because we are on high alert and we're constantly anxious, like myself included. And so somatics works at the body level, and it releases stress out of the body beyond the mind. And just that alone brings people back to their body. And again, the body always tells the truth. The mind will lie to you and protect you. And we only expand our capacity to grow as a human being, whether it be, me, I just launched online. That was like ripping my own skin off. I felt like clawing myself. It was so stressful for me because it's new and I had to do things and I was so uncomfortable doing, like that story that I posted. It took me 3 weeks. My coach was like, and I was like not hearing her, and I couldn't do it because it was so uncomfortable. And so I had Mel come over and actually interview me because I needed like a push.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah. It was like, you can only expand at the level you feel safe in your body. And if we're constantly under attack from our own nervous system, that we're stressed about things that don't matter, what other people think, which is a big one, and the comments that we're going to get, and how people see us, or like, how did my boyfriend react to this, and we're constantly like this. There's no room for growth because we can't grow in a stress. Like, yes, stress is a key to growth, but you know what I'm saying. Like, you can't expand your capacity to help others in stress, and somatics takes that away from me every time. I need it myself. And what's so awesome is that when I teach clients, I'm doing it with them, because what I teach is very not normal. Like I'm doing a lot of shaking, tapping, moving.
Unorthodox,
And I get back into the primal body, and for most people, they're like, wait, what? I'm not doing that. So I have to do it even extra. Like I have to be really an example. And so the great thing is I get to do it all the time.
Lead by example and be vulnerable and like put yourself out there. I mean, I feel like I know personally very little about somatic release. Could you explain more about what that is? We have tapping, we have shaking, we
Shaking.
have
So soma means body.
soma means body.
That's it. And it's just the new term. It used to be tantra until tantra got all twisted, and now it's just about orgies.
A
Yeah.
lot about that.
Yeah. I mean, tantra is like the tantra always means like through the body.
Yeah.
That's actually the definition of tantra, and so sex is actually part of it. But there's a lot of different ways to be a tantrika, and it has nothing to do with sex. But that's
Right.
been twisted. So now soma is the new word, and it also it's more of a scientific word, and it just means through the body. So you bypass the thinking mind, the critical mind, and you release the energy from the cells, because our body remembers everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we have trauma in our body that's pre-verbal. When you were 2 years old, when you were in your mother's womb, like all that stuff. So all trauma is, and I really hate the word trauma, I wish there was another word, is survival stress that's stuck in the body.
Yeah.
Anytime we didn't complete the stress cycle. So if we didn't fight or run away, so every single time we froze, disassociated, or we fawned, which was like people pleasing, we just, all that energy is stored in the body.
Yeah.
And so when we go back to our animal nature, because animals shake after stress, animals make noise.
Yeah.
Dogs don't think twice about growling or yawning or,
They stretch. And
yeah, they're not in their head. And so when we go back to our animal nature and start doing these things, we start to release all that anxiety, the cortisol, the adrenaline that's stuck in the body. That's anxiety.
Yeah.
So we just go back to our animal nature, release that, and we come home to like being present. It's
Makes
so
total
simple.
sense. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
And then when you do breath work on top of it, so I do somatics to prepare for breath work.
Yeah.
I prepare the body so you feel safe in your body, you've released all the stress, and then the breath work is actually just the icing on the top. You don't have to do as much breath work because your body is just open channel. You're not working through so much other stuff.
Yeah. Makes sense. What's your theory on, I mean, obviously both of the things are connected between mind and body, but do you think, if we talk about, we talked before about like the mind is coming with negative thoughts in different ways. Most probably it's doing that because there's a lot of pain and trauma trapped in the body, maybe. And what's your view on that? Or if
Well, the mind is 2 million, we have a 2 million year old brain.
yeah.
And our mind, our brain is wired to keep us alive. It's always looking for what's safe and what's trying to kill us, what's trying to harm us. It's a protecting mechanism. It's looking for what is wrong.
Yeah.
The evolutionary brain looks for what's right. And that's the evolution. And you notice it, first time you meet somebody, you immediately judge. There's something you judge about that person. Like, I do it every single day. I'm aware. I'm like, why do I even fucking care? You know?
You say you don't, I call bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. I call bullshit because that's what our mind does.
Yeah.
And so, if it's always looking for what's wrong to protect us, then how do we move past that? And that's through the body and releasing, so that we can be connected to the mind.
Yeah.
This is not the mind. This is just tiny part of it. The prefrontal cortex is just the problem solver. The mind is everything.
I'm thinking now, if we're talking about our childhood, like I have childhood traumas also, right? Of like, there's some type of experience that makes us go into fight or flight. Might be our parents scolding us for something. So obviously something is happening in my mind then of like, make me feel belittled or unrespected or not heard or not understood, or do you think that is then trapped in my body? And then
Because
after
once
it's
you start
trapped-
feeling that way, you start to put on protection, armor.
Yeah.
We put armor on so nobody hurts us again. Because the mind doesn't want you to get hurt again.
Yeah.
That's not safe, so we protect. We become cold, callous, or cynical, or whatever it is. you
Yeah.
know. Don't let people in.
What are a few daily practices that you use today when it comes to, related to somatic practices, releasing in certain ways and trying to stay.
The easiest one is sighing. I'm like, even when I was in China, I was with this girl, and she was so relaxed and she was so chill, and I was like, so whenever, even when I'm on my bike here in Bali, like you get cut off and your adrenals go on, like you feel that shot through your body of like, oh shit, I could have just died right there, But what do? We just keep going. So even in that moment, I'm,
Yeah.
and that one's really cool because Andrew Huberman, those of us who are nerds, did a study during COVID of people sighing for 5 minutes a day versus meditation and breath work. And across all health markers, sighing gave the best health benefit, brain focus, mood change out of breath work and meditation, because it's the act of letting go. It's the stress form. It's the stress release. So just sighing is one of my biggest practices, and just making sound and shaking. I run down to the beach every day, and I go in the ocean every day, and on the way down there, I'm like, I'm kind of goofy,
It's both
dancing
shaking and releasing and also grounding at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, such good simple tips, really. Sighing.
Dancing is like one of the best somatic releases you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great one too. Put some music on and dance yourself off.
Yeah, my daughter loves that one. She's like, Mom, ready for a 5-minute dance party? Yes,
Yeah.
I am. Yeah. Usually naked in the living room, and my 12-year-old son's like, oh my God.
Here we go again.
So weird. Like, why is my mom so weird?
Let me read a book.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's funny. What would you say is maybe a 3 to 5 year vision of some sort? Do you have that for yourself? You take it more as you go?
I know this book is kind of controversial, but it is something that kind of that really spoke to me, is the book The Secret. I read it when I was in China, which just happened to be on the shelf, which is about manifesting and stuff. And it said, like, if you have a car and you're driving from, I don't know, one country to the next, or in America across country, and you don't have your headlights, all you need to do is see 2 feet in front of you and follow the yes. Follow the energy of yes. And I've always actually been that kind of person where I don't have a massive big vision right now. I mean, I think I already know what it is, but I haven't put it out there. But I just like to follow the yeses, like what feels good and what feels aligned. And whenever I'm doing that, whenever I'm like, things just come to me, and then I don't even have to worry about it. Everything is just coming to me when I'm in this gratitude and appreciation and just being grateful for what I have. And things just keep rolling in.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, do I have ideas? Yeah, I'd like to have a house in Spain and, have a house here in Bali and travel the world, but I'm already doing that, So I don't have the house in Spain yet, but, in the mountains, somewhere in the mountains. I don't even say Spain, but I would like to have a mountain snow house where I can go snowboarding in the winter, and then Bali the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that would be it. And then teaching this all over the world is actually the thing, because what I'm really, in Bali, we have access to this every day. You could do breath work any day in Bali.
Yeah.
But I work with people from all over the world that
Not
come
common,
here on, 5 different medications. They're 30 years old, taking antidepressants for 10 years. This is the normal, because the other countries don't have access to this, and they don't even know about it.
Exactly. When you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, and so spreading this, like right now I'm doing online training. I'm doing a girl from Saudi Arabia, I'm doing a girl from Australia, and a girl from and 2 girls from California.
That's amazing.
And that to me is like, yes, because if they go to their countries and they work, that's the global and I call it a global revolution, because I've always been a rebel. Always been like, let's try a different way.
Yeah.
And so that is my vision, to spread this kind of work, and 'cause people are stressed. And people don't feel comfortable in their own skin, and they feel like something is wrong and they don't know what it is. And when you do this work, you feel better.
Totally. If one doesn't feel good in a specific way, no matter what it is, like let's say you're in Saudi Arabia right now, and you're not feeling too good about yourself or about your life, like where do you start?
Start with yourself, right? Like, you can't help anyone until you help yourself. And so that just means coming home to yourself and getting clear on who you are, and shaking off and releasing all the trauma so that you can feel safe in your body. And then everything, like I said, once you're in alignment, you just need to see 2 feet in front of you, because the answers are right there. The universe is always like, this way, that way, this way, this way.
Yeah.
You just gotta pay attention
Exactly. It's giving you clues
all the
all the
time.
time.
All
No
the
matter
time.
if you like it or not.
Yeah.
The question is, can you see it? Can you interpret it?
Yeah.
What does being deeply aligned mean to you?
Living your purpose. And help, when you're deeply aligned, you're connected with source energy. Whatever you want to call it. Divine source, God, I don't know what it is, but it's there.
Yeah.
And if you've experienced it, it's there. And when you're deeply aligned, you're connected to that purpose, and it's just like you just keep moving forward. No matter what obstacles are in the way, you just keep moving forward to help others. I think that's really our calling, is to help others.
Yes, 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 yes.
But we forget, because we're
Yeah.
narcissists. We're all narcissists. We become more and more, because the world wants us to be selfish. All the marketing is to be selfish.
Yeah, it's built that way. That's a whole nother conversation that we can have in the future.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you also.
First of all, how do you remember all these freaking questions?
Yeah, these are the kind of questions I go around thinking about all the time, so it becomes hard to forget.
It's like, most people have a paper and at least something to leave it. I love that
Yeah.
you're just like,
I mean, I had a few things on my phone, basically.
this is why your brain is so good.
Potentially. And now I feel like, a little bit of blackout. What was I gonna ask now
I
again?
don't know.
That's
Sorry, I
hilarious.
didn't interrupt your thought.
Yeah. We'll go with a different question for now. No, we said deeply alignment, and yeah. You also had another story this morning, which was about being authentic, being yourself unapologetically.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about that a little bit, and how that is probably related to being aligned.
Yeah, we have a saying at Burning Man: if you don't like what I'm doing, like people will be having sex in front of you, like in just like random places.
Is that how? Yeah.
Yeah. And people a lot of men are shirt cocking, which means they wear a shirt and then no underwear, and so you're seeing penises every day, and people are doing things that you're just like, whoa,
This is tough, yeah.
But there's a saying: if you don't like it, it's like fuck your burn.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's my burn. Like, if you don't like it, fuck you, basically. And I really like that, because no one's harming anyone else.
Yeah.
If you can't handle it, then fuck your burn. And
that's about authenticity in the deepest, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's basically that. People are uncomfortable and fear the unknown, and they judge the unknown, because deeply they want that freedom. People want to be free. It's in us to freedom. I mean, like a Braveheart, freedom. Like, like it is, especially men. Like that's a core value for men and women too, but women more. I would say love.
Not stuffing things in, basically holding things back.
Yeah, we all hold back because we think we're weird,
Yeah.
but we're animals.
Yeah, we can't forget that. We have animal instincts.
We are the most domesticated animals on the planet. Like, can you be free? When you're having sex, can you express yourself? When you're dancing, can you express yourself? When you're communicating, can you not be afraid of speaking your truth?
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's being authentic. And also with kindness. That's the thing also, because not to say that we're not here to hurt other people.
Yeah. It's not being authentic in the way of like, I don't care how you feel about my behavior. I'm going to still be authentically me, but with respect, kindness, compassion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because being kind first is it's always the answer. Yeah.
Totally. Anything else you'd like us to touch upon before we wrap this up?
I don't know, why are you doing this?
Why am I doing this, the podcast?
What's your why?
For as long as I can remember, since I was 6, 7, thinking about deeper meanings of things. Felt like an outsider. Maybe one of my childhood traumas is like the lack of true connection. So that's one thing that I'm bringing into this. always been also a seeker of answers, seeker of truth, seeker of an environment where I can be authentically and unapologetically myself, and share whatever is on my mind without feeling like, okay, I'm bothering someone, and here we go again with a deep conversation, and can we just have fun? Or like, but yeah, this is fun to me. This is fun to me. I enjoy it. I can do it all day, all life. And this is why the podcast, I started this podcast, Deeply Aligned, because this is something I can see myself doing for a lifetime. What can be better, in my opinion, than invite people that I'm fascinated and curious about, ask them questions that I genuinely want to know more about, right? And that's connection to me, where one can share things that is not only the good, that's nice too, with some lessons there, but also lessons from the not so good things, the vulnerable things. Being transparent, being authentic, deep connection. I think I'm a lot about where I'm trying to be, and that's my North Star. I want to be authentic. What does that mean? Like, transparent, authentic, truth seeker, and I love to have those conversations with others. That's my why, I think. And then, of course, I also want to spread awareness and messages regarding like what makes the difference in the quality of people's lives. And then it just happened to be that I think, being an entrepreneur in some kind of way, because it can provide you freedom if you do it in the right way.
Freedom.
Yeah, like many people focus on the financial freedom first, right? That's obviously very important because it's a good vehicle. Can you then get to location freedom, time freedom, then also freedom on a deeper level where you're like stress-free also, and you're mentally free, and you have more space for like, what do I really care about, and how can I spend a good chunk of my time on that, pursuing wherever my creativity is taking me. And also passionate about like how does the universe operate. We'll see how we're getting closer to those things, but that's a journey
I think we should do a podcast on mushrooms.
We should. That's a great idea. That it's happening.
Yeah, I always love Joe Rogan because he like smokes a spliff before he goes on, drinks whiskey, and but still stays so intelligent. I'm just like, how do you do that?
I already thought about that. I was like, maybe I should do at least 10 episodes before I do that.
Yeah.
Maybe not episode like freaking 5. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's coming. That's coming. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, looking forward to an episode 2 with some weed and some psychedelics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, get super creative.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for doing this, Annie.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, same.
I appreciate you a lot.
I feel the same.
Yeah.